guys, so it's the beginning of October and we are in central Japan, and up until a week or two ago, just about every day the temperature was over 30 degrees, and at night it was getting down to probably 26 or 25, maybe 27, something like that. So basically we had air conditioners and fans running on and off pretty much most of the time. Some days are hotter than others, it goes up and down a bit, and sometimes it'd be hot 24 hours a day. It was quite common in summer for temperatures not to get below 30 degrees at night. So it would be midnight and it'd still be 31. So obviously the air conditioners and the fans and electricity bills were quite busy that time of year. So that was up till about a week or two ago, and then this happens every year, and then suddenly it drops, and this week the temperature won't get above 30, and at night it's getting down to 16. So it happens every year. It's hot, 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 and then it's perfect for about a week or two. And the other thing is the windows in summer, it's just so hot, opening the windows doesn't help. So usually it's air conditioners and fans, and the windows are closed. And then we have this couple of weeks that are just beautiful, and we open the windows and isn't it nice? And it's a bit like that this week during the day. During the day is quite nice this week. It's 26, something like that, and it's very nice. So the windows of the house are open during the day, and it's very, very pleasant. But at night, now it's dropping down to 16 and 17, we're back to closing the windows at night again. So what we're doing is putting the fans away, and in the place we keep the fans is where we keep the kerosene heaters. We showed you these things before, how they work. A kerosene, electric controlled, and kerosene fueled. And we pull the kerosene heaters out and clean them, and clean the fans and put them where the kerosene heaters are kept. So we only need a space big enough for 2 fans or 2 kerosene heaters, basically. And we swap them over, which is pretty weird, isn't it? So take the fan out, where we normally have the 2 fans in the house, we pick them up, bring them outside, clean them, put them away, and put the 2 kerosene heaters straight where the fans were. And probably before the week is out, these kerosene heaters will get turned on. So, and the air conditioners that have been running on cooling, we'll start running them on heating instead. So it's only a couple of weeks where you could probably live very comfortably without the air cons or the heaters or the fans, but it's only a couple of weeks. So of course there'd be a lot of people who could just live with it, but you know, when you've got a family and young kids and stuff, and people are trying to sleep when it's over 30, it is a bit hard for kids to sleep and people to sleep, and once it starts to get under 20, you've got to think about keeping them warm as well, otherwise they get colds and things. So it's just what it's like, and this is autumn, of course, and then in spring we'll do the reverse. In spring there'll be a couple of weeks of perfect weather, and then we'll bring the kerosene heaters out of the house and put the fans in there where the kerosene heaters were. So happens every year. While we're talking about 30-degree temperatures, every now and again somebody will leave a comment and say 30 degrees, geez, that's cold. And obviously it's one of our American friends, or someone will ask, is that Celsius, or is that what's the other one? Cubits? Is it cubits? The system Moses used to use? Fahrenheit. I'm aware it's Fahrenheit. But interestingly, the metric system is now actually used by 95% of the world's people. There's only 5% of the people in the world who still don't use the metric system. So that's why in all our videos we always use the metric system, because you know, we're in Japan. In Japan it's the metric system, and 95% of the world is now using the metric system. So converting temperatures into Fahrenheit, or converting distances into miles, except if it's flying related, because interestingly, the world's pilots still use nautical miles for navigating. So And height, we use feet still. So if it's a pilot video, if we're talking about flying, and it's a pilot video, you'll get feet and miles. But pretty much everything else that we do is going to be in metric. Sorry about that. You really should get the metric system, guys. Those 5% of you who don't have it, it really is good. It makes a lot of sense. If you're not familiar with it, water boils at 100 degrees, which is sort of makes sense, doesn't it? And it freezes at 0 degrees, which sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Then below 0 means it's below freezing, and above 100 degrees means it's above the boiling point of water. It's all pretty logical. All the measurements are, what do you call it? Divided by 10, divisible by 10. What do you call that? Multiples of 10. Makes it much easier to calculate. Just so you know too, old people from Australia lived through a period of time where we had both. Back in the 60s, back in the 60s in Australia, we had both for a short period of time. As the metric system came in, we've been taught the Fahrenheit system at school, and the old system, the feet and yards and chains and miles and all that fun stuff, gallons and everything. And then they brought the new system in, so we actually did learn how to convert, 4.5 litres to the gallon and 2.2 centimetres to the inch and all that sort of stuff, which is probably wrong. That's probably, no, 2.2 pounds to the kilo, whatever. So we used to have to do that for a period of time. And on the roads, we actually had miles per hour signs and then slowly kilometres per hour signs, which was interesting because there's a big difference between 60 miles an hour and 60 kilometres an hour. So yeah, in the old days we used to convert, so I used to be able to do it for you, but I can't remember it anymore, so that's why we don't do it on the videos, because everything here is metric, so that's why when we're talking about the litres and everything else, it's all metric, everything's metric here, so that's it. That's the only explanation of that that's ever happened in 10 years on any of our videos. It's just because today's an easy day, a cleaning of the heating and cooling devices day with lots of free time to explain why the metric system's good. Alright, so that's clean. So I've got to buy some kerosene now, fill this thing up with kerosene. Those of you who haven't seen it, we made a video about these things. We've probably got a couple of minutes left on this video, so those of you who aren't familiar with these things, they're controlled with electricity, so plug it into the wall, and the controls for it are electric. It's got thermostats and things, that's all electric. But we put a big can of kerosene in here, and it's a pretty good system. Fill it up with kerosene, do up the lid and just put it in, poof. Close the lid, boom, turn it on, there's a fan in there. And the kerosene burns the flame, and really, really hot of course. And the fan blows the heat out, and it's really efficient. So years ago when I first came to Japan, I used to see these things, and because it makes the house smell a little bit of kerosene, and there are a lot of faffing around, you got to go get Kero for them and stuff. So I wasn't real keen on them at first, but once I went through a Japanese winter, I realised that the air conditioners, unless you're in a really small apartment, the air conditioners struggle to keep up. In a big old farmhouse like this, air conditioners can't do it, just can't keep up in winter, when it's -5 outside or -8 outside Celsius, the air conditioners just can't keep up with that. So you need one of these things fired up in the corner, pumping out the heat. And usually we have it, interestingly, we usually have the air cons in summer, we have them set for about 24 or 25, sometimes 26 in summer to cool. But interestingly in winter, because it's so cold outside and we sort of get adjusted to the cold, usually we have these things set for about 17 or 18. Because, when it's -5, 6, 7, 10 outside, when you've got it 16 or 17 inside, it feels pretty toasty. Interesting, isn't it? That feels toasty, and yet if you do 23 in summer, that feels cold. It's just the relative temperature, isn't it? So those of you who live in similar climates to this, none of this is news to you, is it? But those of you who live in different climates, unlikely anyone in Australia would have one of these. It's unlikely, unless it's someone in Tasmania or something. But sort of no need in a place like Australia. So some of you guys watching probably in similar situations where you wouldn't have needed anything like this. Anyway, that's pretty clean. Sitting here talking to you guys, spent a bit more time on it than usual. It's shiny. So, It's light at the moment because the kerosene can's not in there. So we'll take that in. We've got a cage, a little wire cage that we put it in to stop the kids getting close, because the front here is really hot, obviously. There's a flame just inside there and it's been blown out. So you can burn yourself on it. So we have a wire cage purposely made. You buy them from the home centres, and purposely made just to keep a bit of a buffer. So it keeps the kids from getting burnt, but also stops things getting too close that might catch fire as well. So just for a safety thing, just sits in its own little cage inside the house. So anyway, there it was. Hope somebody found that interesting. More videos coming soon.